Thank you. Eric, thanks for leaving this up here so I look even smarter than I really am. But no, I appreciate the overview because it's a great overview of where we are going to go. And here we are. Okay, I've got this in two sections. I want to give yet another overview of AI a bit. I'm going to try to speed through that. And then about halfway through, I'm going to do what I call hot takes. And I'm going to throw some ideas up there. And I'm going to just give you my thoughts on it. So for those of you that have more of an advanced knowledge and say, hey, I really want to turn this up, that's the time. Holler at me, give me shout outs, and I'll answer questions on the fly as quickly as I can. And with that, here we go. All right, real or AI, show of hands. Some of you already know, don't say. Real or AI, raise them up if they are real. All right, that one actually is real. Real or AI, raise it if it's real. That's right, that one is AI. If you actually to look closely, you'll see there's a warped window up in the top. Plus, some people would say, who would make a blue barn? But there's that. Real or AI? AI, right? There's other, again, hints, same thing in the building, small touches. Now, these photos were actually generated, these images were generated at the beginning of January. The things that I'm pointing out are already far better. So this is actually a little bit dated. One more, real or AI? How many people are counting fingers? Right. So this one, I cheated. It's a real photo told to hold the phone. So, right. So if you are marketing to hedgers at all or to farmers, right, you don't want to be the 900th person to use the same picture of a cornfield and a farm in the background and a sunset, right? You want to have modifications. So that's a touch of what AI can do in making your marketing unique, all right? So generative AI, we just got a great explanation of it, but here, heck, I'm not even gonna. So we could do that. What can you do with AI? Everyone knows by at this point that you can generate content. You just saw you can generate images. I was playing with that a little bit. But more than that, you can really generate some amazing ideas. We have brokerage customers that are actually already building their own apps using AI, right? They're building their own apps and they're bringing them to market. They allow you to actually surface prospects better. So if you've used AI built inside of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, if you used it in some of the third-party tools in your own CRM, like you can start to see all kinds of intelligence and new data and trends that you couldn't see before. Personalization in marketing, and what that means is with AI, when you know a lot about a customer, you're actually going to have salespeople that are going to get fed. Hey, by the way, don't forget, this guy recently celebrated his anniversary, his 20th anniversary, or they always want to buy this much, or they always want to place an order on these days. You're going to get trends, and you're going to be able to send out questions and notices and tags or even get tasked to make a call in advance of that so that you can provide personalized service. And even on a website or in a portal, you can surface different information customized to them, right? Of course you can do that now, but you actually have to code that. In the future, which is actually pretty much here, that content is going to change dynamically on the fly based on that information that you already have, all right? Did you have a question? Yeah. So the one thing to, I'm going to talk a little bit more about LLMs, and let me come back to that right in a second, okay? Yeah. Well, that's what's going to happen, right? Like that's something that everyone has to do. The NFA says you're responsible, and all of us know, heck, of course we're responsible, right? We're going to test the crap out of all this stuff before we put it in the wild. Bloomberg said that their summaries were 85% accurate. Pretty good, okay? But we all know 85%, you know, one out of every 8.5 trade, or, you know, every 1.5 trades are going to be wrong. Like, that's not good, right? That's not acceptable. But it is getting there. It is getting very close. So the one thing we are having to do is anything we produce, we double check. But double check is still faster than doing the research. Double checking is still faster than starting from nothing, right? And also the idea, the generating the ideas part of it, like guide me, give me 4 options for this, right? Show me something where I can think about it and ask questions. Because the other thing that just looking over people's shoulders and watching them use AI, they don't ask enough questions, right? They're just like, oh, how can I summarize this? Oh, thanks. And then they go and then they still like take it apart and do it themselves. I'm like, well, you can iterate it, right? And then one last point on the asking questions. I'm teaching my kids, right? We know our kids are so not detailed, right? Like they don't do half the things they tell you and they don't ask the right questions. I'm already saying, okay, how do you start thinking up here? Because the questions we ask are already going to be so much different than the everyday things that we're asking. Like, I need this. It's like, no, I need to solve this problem and it has these parameters, right? Those are the questions that we need to start asking. And that's where you're really going to get the most out of AI. Okay, large language model, getting to your point. So the large language model, right, this is where this diagram is helpful because it starts to take AI, but large language model is AI, is how you train AI, right? Everyone has a flavor of it, right? You've got, of course, you've got ChatGPTs, you have the Google one, and I'll name a couple others in a bit, but it's how you start to train those. Those are trained initially on something. So to your point, Alex, it was trained on images. Who knows from where? I am basically confident that it was trained on almost everything accessible on the internet, period. Like, you just have to make that assumption. So it usually generates something well enough that we've not seen copyright issues, right? Like, and the other part is if you are asking it properly to say, no, I want a sunset, or actually, when I generated a farm image, I literally said, this farm is in Southern Illinois. They are raising corn. It is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, so that it gets the sun pitch, right? And like, you tell it, and it will not. Like, if you give it enough information, it's going to be unique, right? And if you don't like it, then you can tell it to write it differently, or like if you're worried about mixing it up, just ask it to do it again, or give you 3 options and pick one, right? So the more you ask it to do, the more interesting and the more unique and differentiated the response and the content's going to be. All right. Do I copyright?
Can you copyright?
So that is one of the questions, and as far as I know right now, yeah, you can copyright it. So if AI generates a program, a piece of code for you, do you own that code and all the IP around it? Sure do, right? You could take it to market.
I know a good copyright lawyer.
There we go. Hype cycle. All right. So this was actually from late 2023, but it still holds true. Where are we on this hype cycle? This is a Gartner Group image, right? We're somewhere actually at that top peak right now. And that top peak is like, oh my God, this thing is awesome, but what do we do with it, right? Because like, it's only so awesome to say, oh, I can write some emails with it, or maybe I can write some blog posts, which is really helpful, or I can have it summarize stuff, which is really cool. But When it starts getting embedded and incorporated into every single product, and you start utilizing it in different ways, that's what's going to be more on the right side of this curve here. But right now we're at the peak, so, and we're kind of starting maybe to go down a bit, because what's happening? There's always like these stocks are so inflated. These tools are like, I don't get it, and it's going to start dropping off. And because the funny thing is, the most powerful interface is just that text box. It's just one box where you can ask it anything in the world. The most difficult interface is a one text box where you actually have to think and tell it what you want it to do, right? So it's the best and the most difficult interface at the same time. And so that's where, like, until companies start incorporating it into their software and giving you easier prompts or easier ways to do it, it's going to be kind of a bit of a, hey, is this stuff real? But that trend is already happening, right? And I think by the time the next start of next year rolls around, it's going to be incorporated in so many products, the NFA is not going to know what to do with it. All right, so some of the chat-based AI tools out there, the biggest ones we know, OpenAI, their product is ChatGPT. I put them on the same line as Microsoft because Copilot, Microsoft's tool, uses ChatGPT in the background. What's the difference between the two? Microsoft has a slightly different interface to it, it's still a big text box, but there's a couple different things, and I'll go over that. Google Bard, I did change that from earlier in the year because that was Gemini when we started the year. And then the new ones are Anthropic, Meta AI, and Perplexity. Anthropic is one known as Claude, if you've seen that. And that one is getting some really good press. Meta AI, built into Facebook, obviously, and all those programs. And Perplexity is interesting because it's a search type AI engine. All right, so this is what a prompt looks like. Basically, there's a big text box on the bottom left for ChatGPT, and on the right, you see Copilot. In Copilot, you see more creative, more balanced, more precise, right? If you're using ChatGPT, it wants you to tell it, right? Be creative, be funny, be accurate, be factual, right? It doesn't give you those like kind of levers or prompts. It's only one small thing. There are a few more now, depending on the version of Copilot that you have. But if you have a Microsoft 365 license, just a regular old Office license, and you are logged in through the Edge browser, or you go to the Microsoft website and it recognizes you are logged in on Copilot, your information is private. That is considered a paid version of Copilot. Now, there's a bigger paid version of Copilot that they want to sell you, but they've made that free version, and you should be automatically logged in if you're logged into the web with your Microsoft account, a paid version. I believe the same is true for Gemini. I'm pretty sure the same is true because they're already basically, if you're using Gmail or Docs, they've already given you Gemini prompts, and they can't do that if they can't promise you the privacy. So, rule number one for all your handbooks, do not use any open source AI, period. Use a paid version. And that doesn't mean you're paying a $30 a month version. That just means you're using at least the one that comes with your Microsoft or your Google account, because almost everybody is using one of those two as their email provider. So go use that paid version. All right. So those are the prompts. Prompts make everything roll. This is from HubSpot. So how do you write an AI prompt? You give it context, you give it a task, you give it instructions, you clarify and refine. And then for me, number 5 is you say please and thank you. So there actually is some studies that swear if you say please, it actually works better. So I actually naturally say please to it. I don't say thanks because I usually am just going, but I do say please because I want to use it like I'm bouncing ideas off of another person, right? And it always says sure, really friendly. Now, the Going backwards, the clarify and refine, this is the part that I said everyone misses. You see, the last item is, do you understand? I always say, ask me any additional questions that might make the answer better, or something along those lines. And it will ask you questions. It really will. And it will take you down a series of prompts. So many people don't do that. And they take the first thing that comes up and they go, this is a bunch of crap, right? This thing's garbage. Well, maybe you fed it crap to begin with, right? Maybe you didn't give it enough information and it just assumes you know what you're asking about. And so it gave you an answer, all right? Now, that's not always misinformation or anything like that, but it is always ask the question and do it again and again and again until you get the responses that you want, and refine it in. And the other thing is, when you are using the paid version, this is the other, besides the legal reason for using the paid version, it is learning from you, right? So especially if you're using ChatGPT, right? It is learning what you are giving it, and it will recall, not all of it, some of it, right? But those features are coming more and more. It's building, it gets an idea of like, oh, you like this format better than that format. You're always talking about your company. You're always in this field. And so it learns from that and moves forward, okay? Yeah.
Is there a way to retrieve or delete your data in AI or IP that's in there?
Yes. Yes, ChatGPT has a delete everything on there, and then you can delete one by one conversations. So that obviously is creating a problem on the compliance side, right? If you're doing team monitoring, I think Microsoft will solve that very, very quickly because they already have the infrastructure for that, which is why I think Copilot is going to be the way to go. You're going to get the power of ChatGPT, and Microsoft compliance's tools are far better than Google's compliance tools. And the others are just going to have to build that infrastructure. But for it to log the queries and the responses for Microsoft, that's not going to be a big deal, right? And they could sell you more stuff. So, is there a question? Okay, all right. Okay, so here is a prompt I created, and sorry, it is small, but I asked it to create a communication plan for an ag risk management advisory and commodities brokerage that will help me provide the latest market information, government crop reports, weather, and other key sources of information, along with my personal insights into the commodity market for farmers specializing in growing corn, soybeans, and wheat. Present the plan as overview with key sections and bullet points, and ask me any additional questions, okay? So this is an example of like, all right, let's give it an entire marketing plan, right? And then you can go, but even before you get to this, tell it about your business. And if you've got the paid version of ChatGPT or Microsoft, you can actually send it the link to your website. Say, please pull all this in. You can upload all your sales and presentation decks, right? That's all open information, right? Nothing confidential there. And then say, go do this, okay? And what's it going to do? It's going to tell you, look, here's the overview. There's the target audience, key messages, the website port. And by the way, if you want this entire plan, like just ping me for the slides because it's hard to read, and we'll send them along. But you can reproduce this as well.
Your personal, on the previous slide, personal observations.
So,
you had a line in there.
uh-huh.
Add my personal observations. Are those in here, or is that?
Oh, I didn't ask it extra questions or anything like that. So I actually used this as a sample to see what it would do. But I didn't tell it it was for a, right? This isn't for me. I told it this was a hypothetical, right? But GPT actually already knows that I run an agency. Okay. And so it's saying, hey, here's a plan that you can present, right, to customers. And obviously, if you went and did this directly, you can do this, right? So you see all the trends and the tools and everything right in here. Some more information there, right? Here's a baseline strategy. And then you can say, I offer these things. I have these things. These are the tools that I use. These are the markets that I'm in. These are my clients. These are their personas. And it will fill this entire thing out, right? And that's how you can use it. And is it going to be wrong? No, because it's about your business. It's only as wrong as, now, it may say, You may not want to do some of these things, right? And how you execute on some of these things, that's on you, right? But you can clearly say, I don't choose to do this. I don't like social media, whatever it is, and go from there. All right, so this is something we are working on. We're actually working on taking all of the government reports, starting with the USDA reports, and the minute they hit the website, we will take them, we will summarize them into bullet points, small tables, and then we will automatically distribute them through our customers' websites, CRM systems, email, text messages, however you want that distributed. Can anyone kind of figure this part out? Sure, right? Our value add is where we are actually going to work on the distribution and then provide the results, right? So a lot of things can be done smaller, but can they be done at scale? And the most important thing is pushing it out later. Keep that in mind because I want to come back to that. But this is how people are going to want to sort through the crop progress report instead of all 50 or 60 pages of it, right? At least in the first minute of release or the first 5 minutes of release, because you can have this on someone's phone faster than the analyst is sitting on a webinar live with 50 or 100 clients going, okay, the report's coming out now. And you remember Eddie Murphy in the Orange Juice report, right? Like, it's kind of like a webinar version of that, and everyone's trying to read it at the same time, right? So if you took this and you automate, or you summarized it and automated it and pushed it out to people, right, you're going to see the markets move even faster every time one of these things comes out. Because, you know, I'm certainly not the only one with this idea, right? I am sure many traders have taken this and they've actually already plugged it into an algorithm, right? And maybe for NFA purposes, it doesn't automatically select a trade, but it might bring it up on the screen and say, you know, option A, option B, trade A, trade B, you know. And so if the number was this, I hit this button. If the number was this, I hit this button, right? So this is, and then we'll of course take it across every government report and other data sources and things like that. Now, is this super complex? I mean, not really, because it's summarizing data. Can it be taught to be very, very accurate? Yes, right? This is the stuff that you actually, like, we can't just launch this, we have to watch it. We have to watch it over time. We have to watch it over months, right? And see it. But this is just one example of how it can be used in the markets, right? I talked about AI being embedded into every tool. It's going to be too hard for the NFA to regulate all of it, but man, every single month, and again, we're a HubSpot CRM partner. We love it. They are coming out with 10, 15 new updates a month, it feels like. And AI is powering so much of it, like you just can't escape it, right? Even on LinkedIn and Meta, like, do you want to use social media to reply, right? So, all right. So to get started, if you're not using AI, and I'm sure so many of you already, play with those tools to start to get a better understanding. Definitely use the paid versions, right? Verify all the info that's being provided. Share best practices with the company. A lot of firms already have dedicated individuals or dedicated teams already figuring out what best practices are around them. I've seen them, I've spoken with a few of them, I've spoken at a few of them. And then obviously create policies. And the initial policy can be as simple as literally this. Use a paid version, double check everything, no PII data in it. And to be honest, I don't know why you'd want to put a lot of PII data in it, but like, there you go. And right, it can be as simple as that, right? And that's going to be a huge jump with the NFA. Okay, here we go, hot takes. I'm going to throw some other stuff. So that was kind of the quick, or not so quick, overview of AI. But now I'm going to talk a little bit about what the effects are. So what's AI going to do? Good becomes the new baseline, right? So every shitty marketer, every shitty writer just became good, right? And what happens when everybody becomes good, right? It becomes more homogenized, right? Your standards become higher and there becomes a premium on originality. The one thing I love about the ag hedging space is so many personalities. I have been with ag advisors that literally have people follow them around at, outside of bars or outside of the shows at night and say, I watch you on TV. I've seen your streaming program, right? And get autographs, right? Not only are they getting business, they're literally like taking photos and sharing them on social. Like, I met the morning, corn guy. And so that's the stuff that's going to stand out and sell. If everyone is sending out a summarized version of crop progress, what's going to be the difference between that broker and the other broker? Because the one guy shows up on the morning corn show, right? And they like him, or her for that matter, right? Everyone's going to have more access to data and information. Obviously, you can just start to ask AI any of this stuff. Like in the paid versions, the free versions don't do searches. They have limited stuff. But you can say, go get me the USDA report and summarize, or crop progress and summarize it, right? All right. Visibility is about to become harder. How many of you are responsible for sales or marketing in the room? Okay, like about half, really. So organic search is already being affected. When Google starts taking the first set of blue links and pushing it down halfway into the page and giving you a summarized answer of things, that means visibility is going to be harder. So trying to rank in search engines on an educational basis is going to be really tough because AI is just going to feed that, right? And so that just means that traffic that comes from organic, though, is about to be worth 5 or 10x because they are really, really, really interested, right? So where does competition go? It goes to social. Yes, that's why I am shooting video because I'm going to put this on social media. I was not really a video guy. I have to be a video guy because TikTok is the new Google, right? Because everyone can't stop it. I didn't even like watching YouTube videos until I started learning to play guitar, and then I started watching a bunch of YouTubes, and then it just ballooned into other stuff. And now I'm like, oh, I like consuming bite-sized content. I like a lot of it, and I like it better than a lot of other programs on Netflix, or I get burned out on them. So the competition will move to social. If you are not on social, you are going to have a very hard time marketing, and the video is vital part of that. If you are in media, you have one problem in that you've got to protect your content from AI consuming all of it. However, you are about to get paid because it's going to get harder to get visibility, and so more firms are going to be willing to pay for advertising, right? How many CTAs are in the room? Okay, got a couple CTAs in the room. The other part of paid advertising is you're going to pay more to go to conferences. They're going to start paying to be in databases, and inside a platform database, they're going to put an AI engine in it, and someone's going to say, show me all the investments with these qualities. You now have to market to the AI engine. And maybe it's your AI engine that writes that content, that markets to the other AI engine, and now AI engines are marketing to each other, right? That's already starting to happen when you talk about looking for investments on a Bloomberg terminal, all right? The internet is about to become a bunch of walled gardens. To protect the content from AI, you're going to have to require registration. Remember those old days? Even if it was free, you still had to you had to register and you had to log in. It's going to come back, right? Because that's the only way publishers and those creating content can monetize what they're doing, right? But then the tracking on those sites is going to be a lot more active. They're going to know who you are. They're going to know your profile because you registered. And so there's going to be a lot more content given about you to those publishers. And then you get those personalized experiences, though, that I talked about earlier, fed by AI, right? Directories, databases, and platforms. I just mentioned that. That is going to be a very competitive space. But if you are a broker, or if you are, and again, this is equities, futures, doesn't matter what, because it's going to be harder to get organic search, because paid search is going to go up, the G2 crowds and all those Investopedia and Benzingas and everything else where it says top 10 futures brokers, top 10 funds to invest in, top 10 alts providers. Those guys are already getting paid. And those are actually what ChatGPT thinks is the best brokers because it's open. And Ben Zinga says, the more I give this stuff away, InvestP says, the more I give this stuff away, the more traffic I get. And so ChatGPT is being trained off of the paid media. So you need to be, I'm literally telling anyone that's in retail, you need to start buying those ads now before they get more expensive and lock in your contract because that is what ChatGPT is going to learn from. And if you're not on, you need to be on multiple directories. The G2 crowd type stuff, all that stuff is going to become more and more important to be on. And so getting visibility is really going to be harder. Okay. Build the digital relationships. This is already happening. Clients are becoming harder to reach. They don't want to talk so much. Now, I always hear the story from ag brokers, oh, when this guy calls, he can't get off the phone. Man, he wants to talk for an hour, right? And I made one trade because this guy wants to talk for an hour, right? That's going to start to go away. The newer generations don't want to talk to anybody. They want your YouTube content, they want your newsletter, they want a text message alert, and they want to call you for 15 minutes if they really need help on something. And then you might get 5 minutes on, hey, how about them Bears or something like that, and then that's it, right? And then they want to see you. When they want to see you or talk to you, they want to do it over a beer or when you're visiting town or you buy them a coffee or something like that. But it's going to get a lot harder, and the expectations of a lot more alerts and information coming to them is going to be higher, right? I talked about getting on video and why personalities are a differentiator. Everyone needs to have a face to their business, or the business has to have its own face that's not a real person, right? That is, it has to have a voice that is going to be out there, right? And that's why executives are the new influencers, right? We don't really talk about Tesla, we talk about Elon Musk, right? I know it's an extreme version, but if you're in the tech industry, it's all about the CEOs are the celebrities, right? The future space, the analysts and the advisors are the celebrities. The equity space, same thing, right? And it's the fund managers, right? They're the voices and they're the faces of their firms. If you don't do that, you're going to be competing against, like if you're a fund manager, all these ETFs and all these faceless things inside a platform that AI is just going to search for. People need to find your firm by name because they saw you somewhere, right? Clients expect more info. I already talked about that. But the fact that AI is generating more info, they're going to expect more info, right? Doesn't all have to be pushed to them, but if they want to, they say, I don't want to deal with talking to AI. Someone's already going to have a dashboard for me to go to, and I'm going to log into their app or their portal, and I'm going to look at it there, and I'm going to use the tool. Okay? And again, reaching people directly just becomes harder. All right. Brand matters more. Talked about that, brand becoming a voice. Clearly defined services matter because the words are going to be used to train AI about your company. So the one good thing that we talked about, everyone was so worried about open source. The one good thing is you can tell ChatGPT all about your company in the non-logged in version, right? Go say, hey, we're a great company. We do this, we do that, right? Literally feed it information. And there are firms that are already doing that. A lot of firms are already trying to teach AI to skew towards them by providing it more information. And that's why so many firms are putting more content in more places on the internet that they know AI is learning from. So essentially, you're selling to AI. Okay? Again, directories, databases, platforms, right? That's a brand thing. You got to be there, all right? Questions? How did I do on time in the end? Oh,
you're doing okay.
Michelle?
You're all right.
All right, good.
I have a question. So there are those programs that kind of validate your output for whether it's original or whether it's AI generated. What are your thoughts on those platforms?
I like the programs that score what we're doing, right? Like, because the newer ones, and they're using AI, the potential to go viral, the potential to attract a lead, the potential, like literally, it scores your content and it will go and score it against the other content out there, right? Because honestly, I don't really care if it's original or AI generated, but the truth, well, I do, because I know pure AI generated content, I've yet to use a single piece, like ever, on anything without at least changing a couple of words. It's always going to be a hybrid. It's always going to be that photo of the guy holding a phone, except hopefully you don't have 6 fingers. But, no. Yeah.
When it comes to generating, for instance, you gave an example of the crop report that you summarized and you would be distributing. Who owns the ownership or the responsibility of that actual content? So if you are a vendor and you're giving that to a client, are you going through the compliance, or is that the responsibility of the client?
So this is where the NFA says it's like a supervision responsibility, right? So they have to vet the, so then that means I have to tell you how I vetted it, because, and I've tried to submit stuff directly to the NFA and I can't because I'm not registered. So I have to provide you the information that then goes in, but then the NFA is going to see it after a while, and then it's just going to be on an approval list. And again, I think they'll start stricter and then they'll start doing this, but then the AI engines will get better, right? I mean, it is inevitable that AI is going to be built into trading platforms, right? Like, it is inevitable. It won't say it, but it'll say, if it does things like, hey, when this happens, this percentage of the time, you're going to see this, right? It can do it in a very compliant way, which is, then where does that leave the advisor in some cases? So, Tony.
One detail of the question. In the previous, there's people in this room that are using automated processes right now to do the report for summarizing. AI does it better, like more easily. When you show the one up there where it's, here's today's number, it's varied by 7 or 8%. Can you build in sanity checks so you don't send something else that's full of crap? It's varied by 100%. That's obviously an error. Do you have to code that, or can you refine your questions?
So,
You know what I mean?
can you have AI check itself? I don't know that you can, except unless it was like a different bot doing it, right? But then maybe you're better off just writing a regular code, because that's an option too.
And then a bigger question, if I'm the head of compliance at a trading firm, I'm worried about traders using phones and text and all sorts of stuff to share data. How can I supervise the individuals?
Well, that's the same problem they already have today, right? Do they take a text message from a customer directly? So those are standard compliance procedures that need to be established. There's not a tool yet that I've seen. Again, this is where I think Microsoft will probably be the first to put compliance on top of the AI tool, because they're already that close, right? They already have compliance tools. So that's where I think it'll happen. But outside of that, I don't know. Okay. Go ahead. Larry, yeah.
You're a HubSpot consultant or certified consultant. So in HubSpot and a lot of CRMs, automated marketing campaigns are a big part of how they work. I imagine with these 15 plus updates you're getting, there's a lot of AI that's going into that as well, or can be. And it's great to be able to use that, but where do you have the opportunity to jump in if it is automated and going out and you're creating content to do the verification process?
So in some cases, AI is, the question is it really around AI generated content automatically in a CRM? Most of that content is I would not create automated marketing content, right? That's automatic. It hasn't because you could still say like, this is the base, this is what I want it to say, but it triggers automatically. But then use AI to say, oh, if they reach a certain score, or do that. I wouldn't generate content on the fly specific to a customer and have it automatically sent at this point. So I wouldn't do that. But it is like, that could be something that is happening in the future, but I don't think anyone's quite ready to bite that one off yet, because they get the repercussions of having that one wrong too, right? So, right.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Catch me afterwards.